Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Day podcast. I just got back from a trip in New York, and you may have heard this in my other intro because I'm kind of doing all my intros today for some upcoming podcast, which is why if you're watching this in video, you'll see I had the same sweater on and everything looks the same because I'm just trying to do like 10 intros today because it's my first day back from being back from travel, the insane travel that I've been doing, and a Christmas travel to see family in New York. And we go to Maine tomorrow for New Year's for 3 nights at this beautiful hotel up in Maine and doing massages and facials and all that great stuff. And I would like to stay home and do nothing. But when I do stay home, I'm never not doing anything. I'm always doing something. There's a billion things to do around this house. But the reason I brought up my travel is because I was on the Acela coming from New York City to Boston to come home. And I had these first class upgrade vouchers that I got from Amtrak because I've taken Amtrak so many times this year from Boston to New York, and I got status. I got status on Amtrak. And they gave me like 4 first class upgrade vouchers. And if you haven't taken Amtrak first class on the Acela, I have to say it's like not anything fantastic. I would never pay. I've paid for it a few times, and I would never pay for it again. Like regular Acela seats, business class seats, I guess is what they are. Those are just fine. The only difference in first class is that they give you a meal, which is not that great, to be honest. And you kind of get free waters, and you get it's like having an airline stewardess kind of bring you food and water and stuff. But I don't think it's worth the extra couple of $100 one way just to get it. I had these free vouchers, so I used them. But we leave Penn Station. We are maybe 10 minutes outside of New York. Maybe we just left the Queens area, and the train kind of stops. And we're sitting there, and they're serving us breakfast because we got an early morning train, so we would get back and not spend waste a whole day, half a morning laying in the hotel in New York City, and then 3.5, 4 hours on the train, and then get home. And we wanted to get home by like noon. That was our goal. But the train stopped. We're sitting there. We're like, what's happening? Is there another train passing by? Like, what's happening or whatever? And finally, like 15 minutes in, they're like, oh, we're having mechanical issues. And we're like, okay, well, what does that mean? So, the train's electricity's on, but what does that mean? So half hour or 15 minutes turns into a half an hour. And then we get into an hour, like, okay, the train, we're calling and trying to get engineers here to fix the train and blah, blah, blah. We're like, okay. But, we're in first class. We're sitting there. We're having our breakfast that they served us. I'm kind of on my computer doing some work or I was watching some of my Real Housewives TV, catch up on my iPad. Then I start reading a book. And then we're like 2 hours sitting on the tracks. And then they said, okay, we don't think this can be fixed. So what we have to do is the train can go 5 miles per hour. I guess it's some emergency power that they have. And we can take you to the next stop, which is not a normal stop. It's a Metro North stop, which is New Rochelle, New York. And we're going to drop you off there. And then on the other side of the platform in like 10 minutes, once you get off, and it's cold, it's New York, and it's just snowed the day before. And it's freezing. And so we get off of the train. We're standing on the platform. Wind is blowing. This regional train, it's not another Acela, it's a regional train pulls up. And they tell us that the train is completely booked, has 480 passengers. There could be a few seats left, but there's a whole train of people that are on an Acela that are now there waiting to board. And not to sound snobby or whatever, but I'm leaving a first class Acela seat, going into a regional train that's going to make 8 more stops than what we were supposed to. Plus, we've already lost 2.5 hours sitting on the tracks. And we get on and there's no seats. And of course, I was in New York, so I brought a big fucking suitcase. I brought another smaller suitcase, like a carry-on, and I had a big backpack with all my crap in it because I had to bring a work computer, a podcast computer, my iPad. I have more cosmetics, like, I bring my own shampoo, my own body wash, my own face cream, night cream, all this stuff. I probably have more shit in a toiletry bag than a woman does. And so I'm carrying all these suitcases and bags with me, and we went shopping, so I have some of those bags too. And we get in and there's no seats. So we're standing up for literally 2 hours. I'm just standing. And you're not, and the train, it's completely packed. You can't stand in the row because then people can't go by. So you're kind of standing like where the bathroom is at the end of the car, of the train. You're standing there and people are coming by. And then when somebody wants to use a bathroom, you're like, oh God, I'm standing outside this bathroom. If this starts to smell bad, like, what am I going to do? And then, I don't know, for some reason, like, I started feeling like I got nauseous feeling and sick. And I don't know, it's because I wasn't sitting down in a seat, but the train was like rocky. So I think I was maybe getting a little motion sickness or something. And then my husband is like got ADHD and is like all over the place and sending me and he went like to stand in the between two trains to get room because he didn't want to be crowded and hear all these people talking. And then, I don't know. Then he's like, I got to take a walk. So he takes a walk. And then like 10 minutes later, I get a text like, hey, I got a seat in the cafe car. Come now, like right now. And so I run through 2 cars and get a cafe car. And we're sitting there and there's like two of our big backpacks and a shopping bag is like taking up part of this seat made for 2 people. And like, thank God I'm a little skinny and I could fit my little butt on what was left of the seat. And we sat there for another 2 hours kind of going home. And we didn't get home. I mean, we got home like 4 hours later than we should have. So it like sucked because we woke up early to get the earlier train. And then we still missed out on like half the day. But my complaint is to tell you this, or my story is to tell you this, that as we were sitting in the cafe car, there were like some people arguing and stuff. And like there was a woman that worked at Amtrak yelling at this lady because she says she touched her. And it's kind of the shit that you see on TikTok where Karen is yelling at somebody and you're like, okay, this is going to be a fight or whatever. So it felt like that. And so I was just looking, I had my popcorn out, kind of like, oh, all right, here we go. I'm going to see this Karen get knocked in the face in person and stuff. It didn't come down to that. But what happened is that there was a woman sitting across from us because we're sitting at a table in the cafe car. So there's 2 women sitting across from us. One woman that was on the right-hand side had these beautiful blue eyes, but she had a face mask on and she just fucking stared at us, me and Andrew, almost the entire 2 hours. She's writing down a list of everything that she wants to do every day next week. And it's like 2 pages for each thing. And she's really like, I don't know, it's like really kind of going through and putting down and putting a little box next to everything so she could do check marks to it as she checks off. She's like super probably organized and stuff. But every time I would look up to look around, she was like staring directly at me. Like she had these beautiful blue eyes, but I'm like, why are you staring at me? I'm not a movie. Stop staring at me. So I dealt with her. But then there was another woman that was sitting next to her. And like every time I would like look or they would somebody would start arguing or something would happen in the train that was out of the ordinary, I always had these expressions on my face. I'm like, oh, the little gay face I make. And she would just kind of look at me and she would start laughing. And then I was trying to sleep. Me and Andrew switched spots. So I got the window seat and I was trying to lean my head against the window and I was trying to sleep just because I wanted time to go by faster. And then Andrew wakes me up to tell me something stupid. And I'm like, What? What did you need to tell me? Oh, were you sleeping? Yeah, my eyes were closed and my head was leaning against the window and I haven't talked in 20 minutes. So yeah, I was sleeping. But what did you need to tell me? Oh, it was something dumb. I don't even know what it was. So we did that. She started laughing. There was something else he wanted to tell me. I'm like, I don't care about this. Like, I was done being. So we had a week with family, which I really enjoyed, but my socialization meter was up. I had no more socialization left in me. I didn't want to talk about anybody or talk about anything or talk about future plans. I wanted to just sit there with my AirPods in and listen to my podcasts, whatever podcast I was listening to, and or listening to my mix of Shawn Mendes and listen to that and like not be bothered. But Andrew can't be quiet and had to keep talking. And so he kept talking and talking and talking, kept waking me up. And the woman across from me just thought we were just like a funny couple kind of going back and forth. So I don't know. I just thought she was just a Latino woman. And, she was kind of cute. I mean, she wasn't like a model, drop dead gorgeous, but she was pretty. And then whenever we finally got to the last station, to South Station in Boston, it was just me, her, and Andrew and a few other people in the car, and she was still at our table. And she goes, "Bye, guys. It was nice meeting you. Thank you." And at one point, I thought, like, I was looking at her, I'm like, oh God, like she's really like overdone her lips with filler. Like she shouldn't do anymore because it's like almost getting too much. But it wasn't like horrible. But I'm like, she's good where she's at. And she had a lot of lip gloss on and stuff. And, she had very distinct features. And when I got up, I said bye to her and looked at her, and I noticed she had an Adam's apple. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know. I didn't even really think about it. I just like looked and glanced at it, and I was like, whatever. Like I don't know. I didn't even care or think about it or I don't know. It was just not. It didn't matter to me, I guess. And so when we were leaving, Andrew, we're standing there like right before we get to the station. We're standing like by the door with our bags ready for the train to pull up to the station. Andrew goes, "Did you notice the woman sitting across from us was a transgender woman?" I said, "I did." He goes, "Yeah, so did I." He goes, "I wasn't sure at first, but," he goes, "it didn't really matter." And I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, he goes, "I wasn't even going to say anything to you about it because it didn't matter, but I just wanted to know if you noticed, because a lot of your news stories that you do or your stories you interview transgender people, like, what did you think about it?" I'm like, I said, I didn't think about it. I just thought she was just another woman there sitting on the train across from me." He goes, "So did I." He goes, "Don't you think that's like real growth?" I'm like, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it isn't like I ever hated transgender people. I guess I just would have my curiosity would have made me look at her a little more, or want to not stare at her, but just really take her in. And I didn't feel the need to do that because I'm just like, she's another woman. So I don't know. It just felt like growth to me. And and this show is the reason why. And he said that. He goes, "Your podcast," even though he doesn't listen to it all the time, but he goes, "The stories you tell me about your podcast and the people that you interview and those type of things, he goes, I think that's really made us grow." And I just love it that, there's this woman, whether she's transgender or not, she's there, and who cares? She's just a woman to us now. She's not a transgender one. She's a woman. She's living her authentic self. And I love that we have grown like that. And, I've interviewed a lot of transgender women over the past 2 years of doing my podcast. And several have said that gay men can actually be kind of not kind to them when they're out and stuff. And I don't know why. So I'm hoping to make a difference in that. I want to make sure that transgender people, not just transgender women, men and women, all feel welcomed and feel part of the LGBTQ plus community. So that's going to be something I'm going to help work on in the coming year. So, but let me get into who my guest is today. Her name is Kimberly, and she has a story about reinvention and patience and realism. She started off with an MBA in finance and a background in a legal field, and her full-time career was kind of a financial analyst. And she made the decision later in life to kind of return to her original passion, which is acting. And we kind of go through that, and she's worked along some people like Johnny Depp and Al Pacino and Billy Bob Thornton. We talk about what she's doing and what she's wanting to do in her life. Sorry, I need a drink of water, but I think she has an interesting story. I think you'll enjoy the interview with her. So her name is Kimberly. I will put all her details if you would like to learn more about her in the description of this podcast. So go check her out. Also, leave me a message and rate this podcast. I need some new ratings for the year for the podcast. Let me know how you think the show's going, and leave a comment in Apple or Spotify or Amazon or however you listen to this, and let me know how things are going. So enjoy the episode with Kimberly, and come back next week for more interviews. Thanks. Hi, thanks for joining me in the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have a new guest. Her name is Kimberley Kim. She was raised in Canada, and she works both in the US and Canada. And she has a very unique background that we're going to talk about, but she's pursuing acting, and she's doing acting, and she's done several things, and we'll talk about that. But first, I want to ask you, you have an MBA in finance. How did you make the switch to acting?
Well, first off, bon fête to Canada, because it is Canada Day. Hence
it is? Oh, okay, good.
It's true. So that's a great day, right?
Yeah.
And I had, as a kid, always loved the acting portion. I did it in high school, and then I did a little bit as a teenager in Canada. We actually had, if you remember, 21 Jump Street.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yes, was filmed in Vancouver.
Okay.
And I would often do background work on that. And so that was kind of my introduction, and theater, et cetera, et cetera. And then I came down to the U.S., and I was actually never planning on living here, but I met my ex-husband and ended up staying. So that turned my trip into the U.S. as a permanent one. Cool. So I then went on to do a little bit of acting at a younger age. But, I was married, and I then had a child, and, started that life. And I had originally worked in the legal field. I have undergrad in paralegal studies. So I was doing that, but then parlayed that work as I had been doing in academia, because I worked at a law school, and transferred that into finance. And then I went on to then earn my MBA whilst working. Okay. So that's how that came to be. And it's actually then served me well as I've gotten older and my son is grown. So I decided I want to get back into my passion, and that was acting. So yeah.
Awesome. So you've done several things. Talk about some of you've done things from series or streaming, and you've done TV, you've done some movies, you've done some commercials. Which one, talk about some of those that you've done, and what do you like the most?
Oh, well, I definitely love, feature film is always the funnest, because it's the most creative, and it's a slower pace. So you can take your time with the character, et cetera, et cetera. And usually it's a little more varied. My fun thing was I had a small part in Johnny Depp's movie Modi.
Oh.
Which was a big kind of, not 360, but let's say 180, because he was directing, and I went up to him. We were on a break, and I said, I used to work on 21 Jump Street. He's like, oh my God. He says, you must have been a baby. And I said, yes, I was. Yeah. And so that was fun. And Al Pacino was in that. And it was, it's very fortunate to get that role, because I spoke French. much. So, but the other thing that I've done lately, I worked on a BT channel. It was Queen Traps. So that's going to be coming up. Season 4
Wow.
are on. So that's kind of cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I'd love to, there's the odd horror movie. I just finished a horror movie we did, and that should get released next year. So I was excited about that. But
what's the name of it so we can look for it?
That is called Vicarian. And they filmed part of it in Italy, although I did not get to go to Italy.
Oh, too bad. That would have been nice to go, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you, when you're getting these different characters or you're getting in different types of roles, how are you preparing for them yourself? Like, they give you the script and they say, you're going to be this person and you're going to be this character. What are you doing? What's your process?
Well, a lot of my process is as I've gotten older, and that's been a big thing, being a older, mature actress.
Okay.
I have so much more life experience to bring to the table, and I use that. And also I feel as I've gotten older, I have less of an ego, so I'm really just able to kind of let go and be in that moment of listening and understanding the dynamics with the other characters. And it's really just about just getting into it and being in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of work too where it's just me and being inside yourself and portraying, getting that to come across on camera. And that's the trick. It's very subtle, but being able to just let it go, let yourself go into that and wherever it leads, because you're always taking you into it. You're bringing your experience, your life into that character and giving your version of it. So that's kind of what I try to show on film as much as possible. So.
And have you ever thought about doing anything like on stage, or I know that's a completely different way, like, or is that something you're interested in or you have done or thought about doing?
Well, I did it when I was young and it was lots of fun, but especially living in LA, the theater scene is a very different world, and it requires, as with many things, a lot of time commitment. And one thing about being an actor and also a finance analyst at the same time, it's a time juggle, and theater takes up a lot of time and commitment. So that is not something I pursue, although it's fun and that live experience, that immediate feedback is a great feeling. But time-wise, it's such a commitment to give up on many other things. And I always say, and many people will understand this, is once you start working, you always then get more work. And you have to then delegate which is the best one, which is the trajectory I want to be on, and choose your work carefully, because that always, when it rains, it pours, is always what seems to happen, which is a great thing, but it also has its extra problems that go along with that.
So you are working a full-time job while you're doing your acting career?
Yes, indeed, I am.
So when do you sleep?
Not much.
Okay.
But I'm very good at micromanaging myself, and also being very flexible and really delegating time and making sure, for my work, all my deadlines are met, and I'm always on top of things. So
good.
Yes.
So I know you said you like the movies piece of it, but let's say you got asked to do a kind of a full-time series. Would you want, that's kind of like with the visuals and everything like that. Is that something that you would like to have happen possibly?
I have often thought about that in my head and how I would approach it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Of course, yes, I would always welcome that. And I would probably go for it, because I feel like, I've worked as a finance analyst for like 20 years. So I've put in a lot of time in that. And sometimes you do have to take that chance
Yeah.
even though it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably just go for it. I think that's what I would do. But I would
Yeah.
definitely have to weigh a lot of the pros and cons.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't be able to work your full-time
Yeah,
job anymore, right? After
no,
that. Yeah.
you certainly would not. No. So there's a lot to weigh. And, I really admire people that are full-time actors. And I know a lot of them. And I commend them for that because you just never know where your next job is coming
Yeah. Yeah.
from. And that's the life.
Yeah. I just interviewed Cheyenne Jackson, and he's a big actor, and he was just saying that this was the first year that I guess you have to act so many hours or something to get your health insurance.
Your health insurance. Yes, with SAG, yeah.
And so he had to end up going and like getting a small part he normally wouldn't have taken just to make sure he just had to get those hours in, I guess, or whatever. So that's interesting.
Yeah, no, that is a thing. And those are really important things to weigh. And also, when you do work, you make a chunk of money and you want to be able, the finance side of me is like invest wisely.
Yeah.
Make smart decisions, make the money last.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when that next job is coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you tell people? Because it seems, just from hearing about all these people going in, for auditions and stuff, you have to be able to accept rejection. So kind of what is the way that you kind of approach that, where you're thinking like, okay, I'm not going to get this, but I'm going to try. And then whenever you find out you didn't get it, do you dwell on it, or you just kind of going to let it roll off and go to the next thing?
Yeah, I literally will forget about the audition after I do it. It's in your head, and then once it's done, it's gone. And it's like I feel like every day is like a nice surprise looking at your emails, your texts, I just kind of let it go. I really don't think about it because I think my record right now is like 10 auditions in one day. And I have a home studio, so I just plow them out. And that's the attitude you have to have. I mean, auditioning is a lot of the work, prepping and getting the character and learning everything.
So you've done 10 in one day.
I have.
Wow, that's crazy.
I laser focus.
Yeah. So like mental health also, just like how are you kind of maintaining your mental health when you're going through like 10 auditions in one day? Are you taking time for yourself?
Yeah, I do, because I feel like it's actually kind of like building a muscle. And I've heard a lot like Meryl Streep and Jessica Lange talk about this acting muscle. And it is a muscle because you learn to be very focused on what you need to do to be this actor. And you need to be able to find that energy in yourself to get things done that need to be done, learn the lines, find how your brain works to accomplish these goals, and let them go. So like I will do all this stuff, but then, in 10 minutes I'll be asleep. So it's like in and out kind of thing. And you really don't worry about other people's opinions. And that doesn't really bother me. And I think, and that's an age thing too. It's a learned thing. I mean, I was not always like that. I always would worry and, stuff, but now, no, I don't. So I feel really happy, and I feel, every day I'm very fortunate, I feel, to be able to be healthy and do fun things and create this whole other persona. And it's great fun.
And you must meet interesting people too. Who's the most interesting person you met? I mean, meeting Johnny Depp is pretty cool, but who else have you met that you kind of admire, or you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm meeting this person?
I'm going to say Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh my God. What a charmer he is. I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
good.
a reason he's been married 6 times. I get it.
Yeah.
But he's very sweet, and meaning that he's very empathetic and kind to people around him. And, that goes a long way because there's a lot there aren't.
Yeah. Anybody you want to talk about that's not like that? Who's the opposite of Billy Bob, or we'll keep that to yourself?
I've seen a few.
Yeah.
few female comedians.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it sad though that they're like that? Especially when they're
It
the female, when they could be supportive, and when they're not.
it is. And I always hear stories like from Jane Fonda, who always said, someone was really kind to her when she first came on set.
Hmm.
And then she was really kind to that new person who was like doing their first movie. I think it was Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like a cycle thing. If someone shows you that kindness and it opens the door to you,
Yeah.
because it's, the acting thing and the filmmaking, it is such a team effort. I mean, everyone is a part of it and makes it gel.
Yeah.
And so there's no competition. There's none of that. It really isn't that at all, because everything needs to link for it to work. So, most people are very giving, and most actors and filmmakers and all that are so gracious and kind to each other, because they're putting in long days and they're becoming this family. It's like you're in a bubble for like a X amount of time.
Does
And
it feel
then,
like a community?
yeah, it does. And, we're all like, everything goes. Was working on something recently, and with this guy he was a bodybuilder guy, and there was a changing room right next to him, but he insisted he needed to get changed outside, and we're just all like, okay, whatever works. But
Yeah.
you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of fun like that. And there's a lot of quirky people out there for sure.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go with the flow. We always say there's always one.
What's been your favorite job that you've done, that you've worked on? Which one? Because you've done, like I said, you've done TV,
I've
you've
done a
done
lot of different
movies.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's been your favorite thing that you've participated in?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna say I did it was a oh god, what was it? It was on the Discovery Channel. It was kind of like this oh god, what was the name of it? It was a couple of years ago. It was kind of like a horror thing, and it was I had to do my first stunts. So that was always fun. Yeah, it was like this possessed doll, and had to get thrown across the room.
Yeah.
And, I had to learn how to do stunts like that. So that was a lot of fun. And, it was very spooky and animated. But it was a really fun group to work with, and like to the casting director, to the director, and a lot of the actors I'm still friends with today. So it's the memories of the people you meet and the friendships. And I've been working in the last, I want to say 2 to 3 years, pretty consistently, like all the time.
Yeah.
I will not go on a set where I have not worked with someone, or they come up to me and say, "Oh, we worked together." It's like, "That was that white-haired old lady."
Yeah. Yeah.
It happened yesterday. I was doing a photo shoot, and someone came up to me and says, "Oh, we worked together on this Disney commercial." I'm like,
did you remember them after they said it?
After he said it, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But you work with so many people, and it unless you really, really connected, it's hard to remember everyone. But so that's a good feeling, and it is a very small community. And even though there's a lot of people, it becomes very small, and there's always crew that I work with, or actors.
Yeah. Do you see the same crew kind of over and over if you're going to different projects?
Yeah, like I had, it was funny, I guess a month ago or something, I did like this Adidas commercial, and it was a very high-end commercial.
Yeah.
And, one of the crew came up to me and says, "Oh, we worked together like about a year ago." And he told me, and then it was like a really low budget thing. I said, "Isn't that awesome? We both moved up the ladder." Like that was a really great thing. So, it's a small world. But you know what? The people are usually really cool. And I just love crew people, because what they do it's so hard what they do.
And it's underappreciated, I think, too.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, they put in so many hours, and they're always working, like kudos to them. I don't know how they do it.
I have two questions for you. One is, who would you want, if you could pick two people, a man and a woman that you could work with, who would they be? Any two people. And then my second question is what's the ultimate dream project?
Well, okay. So I'm going to say Christopher Walken. I would love to be on set
that's
with
a good
him.
one.
Oh, yeah. And then I think good old Meryl. I would love to be on something that she's worked on. And I haven't had that chance yet, but I'm working on it. And then for a project I would love to work on, I think it would be like a real dramatic feature where there would be a lot of soul-searching thriller type stuff, because I love that kind of journey that you watch on a movie, watch the actor go through, and a real kind of intelligent kind of thinking movie where, you know, it's like, it's clever. I think that would be a lot of fun for me. So
awesome. If people want to get in touch with you or find out more about you, how can they do that?
Well, they can do it a lot of ways. I have an agent. It's CA Talent, and Christina is my agent. And then I also have another agent, MJB Talent, in Myron. He's my agent there.
Okay.
So those would be the best ones. And then I'm on my website at KimberleyKim.com. And yeah, we're all on Actors Access and Backstage and all that fun stuff. So yes, we are everywhere, or I'm everywhere, as a lot of actors are everywhere too. So
great. Yeah. So I will put this in the description of the podcast. So if anybody's interested in reaching out or to learn more about you, they can go to your website. I'll put it in the description of the podcast or the YouTube video, whatever you're watching. What do you have coming up in the next 6 months to a year? What's on your agenda?
So I have a small role I have coming up in about 2 weeks that I'm going to be doing on a little drama that I'm working on. And then I have some commercial work too. So I'm looking forward to those. Yeah, just keep doing them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good COVID's over, so everybody can start working again, right? And,
I know. Yes, indeed it is. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, it was great meeting you and talking with you. Thank you so much for being on. And I hope to see you in a major motion picture soon with Meryl and Christopher Watkins. That would be kind of amazing. So, and when that happens, you got to come back on.
I will give you all the good gossip.
Yeah. Or when you win the Oscar, you got to come back on.
Yes,
whenever you win the Oscar.
I shall do that.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your time and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, leave a message, and let us know what you think about the interview with Kimberly. So thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.